Hi there folks, welcome back to the channel. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at these four watches. It's kind of a head-to-head. Yeah, four. What we have is the Spinnaker Dumas. We've got the Steeldive 1971, and then we have the Seiko 5KX SRPD 63 and the Seiko Samurai Save the Ocean Great White Shark, which is the SRPD 23. Now I've scored the kind of list out of 10 as usual, and this is just my opinion. So yeah, we all know about opinions. Well, I've got one as well, same as everybody else. So yeah, when we get to the end, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? So let's begin. So first of all, we are scoring the movement, and they basically all have the same movement. The Dumas has the NH35, as does the Steeldive, and the Seiko 5KX has the 4R36. The only difference with that is it's got the date complication, and the 4R35 in the Seiko Samurai and the 4R35 and the NH35 are essentially the same movement, so they all get the same score. So moving on, style and design. This is where it gets a bit different. So the Spinnaker Dumas, which is this one here, that scores a 3. And I can probably feel some furrowed brows because a lot of people think that these are an original design. On the whole, Spinnaker do their own designs. This one, however, is not. It is a homage to a dive watch from the 1970s by Omega, and it's the Omega Shom is what it is homaging. So only 3 points for that. And also the same for the Steeldive, which is obviously a homage to the Seiko Sumo. And so no points really for originality. It's just been done quite well, so you know, kind of giving them 3 points. Now then, the Seiko 5KX, I've only given that a 5. Now, even though the case shape is Seiko's own design, it is actually kind of their own homage to one of their own watches, being the good old SKX series. So you know, they've not really done anything to make it any different. Everything they've done to this is what people were asking for, as far as applied indices, etc, etc, and the 4R movement instead of the 7S26, but they didn't give it the water resistance, so that scores a 5. The Seiko Samurai, on the other hand, is a completely original design, and it's one of those love-hate ones. It's a bit like the Seiko Monster. Some people prefer that, some people prefer this. Most people prefer the tuner, if I'm if I'm honest. But yes, 10 out of 10 for originality on the design and the style for Seiko on the Samurai. Moving on, fit and finish. The overall fit and finish of the Spinnaker Dumas is very good. It did not come on this strap. This is the one that came with the extremely thick and chunky mesh strap, which is okay, but not the best. The current versions come on a bracelet, which is a lot better. I've got this on a seatbelt NATO style strap, which I got from Strapsco, and I think it sets that watch off just nicely. The blue and the red, it all kind of ties in and is a fantastic summer watch. So fit and finish for this, yeah, there's no issues really anywhere else. The crown, I guess, is because it hasn't got so much knurling on it, isn't the easiest to get hold of, so that scores a 7. Fit and finish. Now, whatever you think of Steeldive and whatever you think of homage watches, I've scored this one a 9, because overall the fit and the finish of it is actually really very good. The polishing is done to a good standard. They've retained this brushed element down the center of the case, which is done very nicely. The bracelet fits well with solid end links. It does come with a pressed clasp. I've obviously changed that over to a milled clasp, but overall I have to say that the fit and the finish of the Steeldive, this particular one, is very good, so I'm scoring that a 9. The Seiko 5KX, that scores a 7. The reason for losing a couple of points there is really on the bracelet. There are other things, but we'll come to those in a minute. But the bracelet, it kind of pretends to be a solid link bracelet, but they are not. They are actually folded over, and if you just kind of turn it in the light, and you can see the seam that runs down the center of the link there. So they are actually hollow, no pin and collar or anything like that. They also have hollow end links, so that one scores a 7. Now the Seiko Samurai, I've scored that a 9, and a lot of people are going to go, oh, why have you scored that a 9 when you scored that one a 7? This one actually does have solid links, and it has pin and collar system. Now a lot of people hate the pin and collar system. I've actually come to quite like it. It is extremely secure, and it is very easy to adjust if you've got the right tools. You know, if you're going to sit there with kind of hammers and pliers and stuff like that, yeah, it's going to be awkward. But if you just get yourself one of those wind up link extractors or pin extractors, they're absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever, and they are very secure. So anyway, fully solid link bracelet, solid end links. It does come on a pressed clasp though, so that's why I didn't give it a 10. Now obviously I am, those of you that know me know that I'm a bit of a Samurai fanboy anyway, but there we go, make no excuses for that. Moving on to the bezel and the functionality and the water resistance. 200 meters for the Spinnaker Dumas. The bezel functionality, I've scored it a 6 because it is not the easiest bezel to get a hold of. It is quite smooth, and it is quite tight, and it doesn't actually have really discernible clicks. It's a bit rubbery in feel, but there is a little bit of back play, but it does line up, so I've scored that one a 6. Steeldive, 200 meters again, so we've got an 8 and an 8, so the water resistance is the same. I've scored the bezel action on this a 9. The clicks are very positive. As you can hear, it's not too tight. I guess maybe just a tad looser than I'd like it, but it's not loose, and it does line up. It's easy to grip, and it just feels nice. So yes, I've scored that one a 9. The 5KX, on the other hand, unfortunately that only scores a 6. Now with Seiko, you definitely do, it varies from watch to watch. My wife has got the sand coloured Fume dial, one of these, and the bezel on that is fantastic. This one is not. It's very, very spongy. The clicks, you probably can't hear it because they are so quiet, and you really have to grip it, and it does line up. There is no back play, but it is it's not a nice bezel, so that one has scored a 6. The Seiko Samurai, 200 meters ISO certified, so that one scores a solid 10 for that. The bezel on this is actually pretty good. I've scored it an 8. I'll turn that so you can hear it. It's got like a double click kind of feel to it. It's the sound is different from click to click. It's like a TikTok click. But yeah, I mean, it feels okay. There's minimal back play, but there is some, as you can see, and it doesn't quite line up, which is very Seiko. So that scores an 8. So Right, moving on to the Lume. So I'm going to run the footage for that, and then we'll come back and we will have a look at my scores, and we'll see if you agree with me. So yeah, it's interesting and maybe not what you'd expect. So here we go, the Lume. So there you go. Any surprises? Has anyone gone? So yes, you know, the Spinnaker only scored a 4. It did not do very well at all. Very, very bright to start with, as they all are. But I've scored the Steeldive a 9. Now, I know that the indices did fade out, but because the bezel hangs in there, it is still very, very usable because the hands are bright and they do last, and the bezel stays bright as well. It would be better if the indices stayed longer than the bezel, but at least it is functional and usable. You can still see it. Rather surprisingly, the 5KX did quite well as well. That scored an 8, and in third place, this was a surprise, only 7 for the Samurai. Yeah, I was surprised myself, possibly as surprised as you are. So moving on, the brand Kudos. Overall, Spinnaker, they do have quite a good following, but it's really difficult to explain how I see them. They make very good watches. The quality, generally speaking, is very good. If you get a bad one, you do get a bad one. But one of these kind of Far Eastern companies that they do produce some good watches. Very popular with collectors, but other than that, not really very well known, so they score a 6. Steeldive is, you know, basically they're 100% homage watches. So, you know, I'm going to give them a 5 because they're one of the better homage watch companies, and you know, you do, I think that you do get good value for money, and we'll come to that bit in a minute. Obviously, brand Kudos for the Seikos, the two of those, they both scored a 9. You don't really get much better than Seiko. You're probably wondering why I haven't scored at a 10. And so am I now, to be honest with you. But, you know, there we go. We all love a Seiko. So they both scored a 9. Then we have wrist presence. And going back to the photos at the beginning, if you watched that, you will have seen those on my wrist. This is a fantastic summer watch. Give that a solid 9. And the Steeldive also, it looks fantastic on the wrist. Obviously, it's no thanks to Steeldive other than the fact that they've made it and they've actually executed it quite well, so I've given them a 9. The 5KX, well, it looks like you've got an SKX on, but you've got a Seiko 5, so I've given that a 7. The Seiko Samurai, that gets a 10. I mean, just look at that thing. Look at those angles. You know, it's called a Samurai for a reason. So very, very cool. So I've given that a 10, and that's just because I can. Right, moving on. Value. So value for money. I don't get. Are we in camera with that? Yeah, there we go. Just about value for money. These retail around about 300 GBP, and this is very rough. It's not an absolute. You need to check the websites out to get the prices that are currently out there. So I've scored that a 7. You get good movement, you get 200 meters of water resistant. The bezel is a little bit could be better, and the crown is not the easiest to get to either. Value on the Steeldive, I have to score that a 10. Around about 120 GBP, you're getting solid stainless steel, sapphire crystal and ceramic bezel insert, fully loomed indices and hands, and the bezel is loomed as well. The finishing is pretty good. So really, value for money. You are definitely getting your 120 quids with that piece. The 5KX, 200 GBP. When you look at it against the others, I can only score it a 6. It's only got that 100 meters of water resistance, and you've got those hollow bracelet links, but made to look solid. You know, it's a lot of people, when it first came out, compared it to the SKX. I think it's better to look at it as its own thing, but it's kind of difficult to do that. So yeah, I only scored that a 6. The Seiko Samurai, around about 400 GBP. There's definitely more value in that than there is in that. It's an ISO certified diver. You could easily go down to your 200 meters and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Anything that says 200 meters, I think once you got down to around about 100, you need to start thinking about it. You know, if it's ISO certified, then it is definitely going to do the job. It's, yeah, everything about it, it's I think you're getting good value for money. The only thing I think they could improve, and they have done with the King Samurai, is they've added the sapphire crystal, and the ceramic bezel insert, but they still got the press clasp. But I'm still going to give it a 10 out of 10. So there we have it. I think we are now down to the totals. So we will remove that and we will move that up there and we will go through the totals. So we are scoring out of 90. So down the bottom there we go. The Spinnaker scored 59 out of 90. The Steeldive scored 71. So there we go. And the 5KX scored 63. And the Samurai scored 82 out of a possible 90. So there you go. That is my thoughts, and they are mine. So you might think I'm wrong. You might think I've been too harsh or too lenient on some points, but let me know in the comments. If you want to call me out on anything, feel free to do that. If you want to disagree with me, feel free to do that. I love the comments and I love the discussion, and I'm always up for a chat and let's talk about anything that you think I've missed. But yeah, there we go. Just a little bit of a fun head-to-head. Yeah, lots of head-to-head thing. But there we go. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all the other stuff, and I will catch you in the next video. Cheers for now.